Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be discussing a common question that often comes up in gun talk, and that is, do you trust your life to your gun? Okay, and my answer is always no. I do not trust my life to my gun or any gun for that matter. I trust my life to my skills. Okay, the skills that I have been developing, and that is, my skills go beyond just the gun. Okay, they go to my ability to talk and communicate with people. Uh, situational awareness, my grappling skills I've been developing, my ability to use other weapons besides the gun if the gun fails. So there's more to self-defense than just the gun itself. But even if we're talking about just the gun, here's the thing to understand. If you talk to people that have been in the military that use M16s or basically AR platform guns, they will all tell you at one point or another they've had a jam with the gun. Okay, and that's with I've heard that with M16s, M4s, Beretta 9s. I have not heard with the SIG 320s, but that's mostly because they just haven't been in the military for that long under combat conditions. Or basically, I haven't all of the vets that I have interacted with, they all sort of came back from Iraq and Afghanistan. So most of the people that I have interacted with are pre-military switching over to the SIG 320. Okay, so I can't speak for that, but let's just stick with the M16, M4 AR platform. Um, almost all the people that have done service have told me at one point or another the gun jammed up. Okay, and most of them don't even have a backup weapon. The backup is the other people in their unit. Okay, so if the gun jams up, they take cover. They basically fix the gun while other people are providing cover fire. Okay, um, so that's basically part of the system, right? That's part of the training, the skills involved. Now, the reason why I bring that up, um, while I say that almost all people who have done military service have told me that the AR platform guns have jammed, and even I've had guys that I've met that have served in the Soviet Army, and they've told me AKs jam up too, right? Under combat conditions, they will jam up. They will jam those guns up too. Okay, so don't believe the hype that you hear that AKs never jam. But here's the important thing that I'm trying to bring out when I'm training people at different gun ranges. Okay, the majority of the jams that I see are in pistols as opposed to rifles. Okay, so usually with the rifles, I have to somehow induce a jam so I can teach people how to unjam the guns. Whereas with the pistols, I see the jams a lot more often with a variety of different guns. Okay, now you might say that, hey, Glocks never jam. Okay, I've seen them jam. Okay, now if you do just an internet search, pick your favorite pistol, whether it's a Glock or a Sig or 1911 or whatever your favorite pistol is. You put that in the Google search and you type in jamming problems, uh, malfunction, whatever. You will find testimony of people saying that that gun has given them problems. Okay, so all machines, all guns break. Now, of course, there could be a mechanical problem with the gun, in which case that's easy, right? Because now if you got a mechanical problem with the gun, and if it's consistently not working, great, you send that out to get fixed, not a problem. But the other problem that you can have with guns is an ammunition problem. Okay, and I don't care what ammunition you're buying with, they're all going to have some small error rate, even if it's a 0.01%. All ammunition is going to have some error rate. Okay, so again, that goes back to being able to, you know, uh, clear the gun and get it working if it doesn't work. Okay, but beyond that, you might also have a user problem. So to explain, and I know most of you guys know this, I'm going to use this gun just because it's a little bit brighter, a little lighter color, and you guys can see it better as opposed to the black gun. But in order for these semi-automatics to work, right, with the pistols, the bottom part has to stay steady while the top is running back and forth, okay? So if you're letting the whole gun move around, it bleeds off energy, and then that slide is not going to come back all the way, and it's either going to fail to feed or fail to eject, okay? Now with the larger guns, like the G17s and G19s, or full-size duty guns, I tend to see less of that, and the reason is because the gun itself is heavier, so its mass picks up the recoil better. So with this gun over here, there's just more weight here, you know, to conserve the energy and force that slide to the back. Now with a rifle, which is even heavier, I mean, I can hold this up in the air like this and shoot this, and although I have been able to get the gun to jam, like, you know, shooting it like this, boom, 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 you know, it can happen, but it's less likely to happen just because the gun has more mass, so that the gun stays relatively still while the bolt is running back and forth, even if I'm holding it in a weak position. With the handgun, if you get into a grappling match, right, where somebody's grabbing down here and you're coming in over the top here, or somebody's grabbing over here and you're over here like this, you know, unless you've been practicing to hold that grip firmly and shoot from this position here, there's a chance that the gun's gonna, you know, move more than it's supposed to move and bleed off the energy, and then that slide is not gonna come all the way back, and you're gonna get a jamming problem, in which case you gotta know how to unjam the gun, which is usually a tap in the rack. However, sometimes you'll get the type of jamming problems where where you try to get like a double feed or something, and I've seen that happen where basically the magazine has to be pulled out. You gotta basically clear the gun, put the magazine, do that. That's really hard to do during the fight, right? So you gotta be able to use other options. You know, hit, you know, muzzle punch somebody with the gun. You know, hit them with the slide. You know, so you gotta have other options already programmed into your head. I mean, you can, you know, I mean, after the fact, you can say, hey, you should have done this, or you could have done that, you could have done that. But unless you actually do this on a range and practice this, either with a fake gun on a real person, or with a real gun on a dummy, basically, it's not going to be in your head. It's got to be in your head. I've done boxing for several years. I used to teach it, and I can talk all the boxing theory in the world, okay? Unless you get into the ring and start taking punches and fighting through the incoming punches, right? Where you're taking hits and you're still punching through until you actually get in the ring and get hit. You cannot fight effectively, okay? You know, same thing if you guys watch my sword fighting videos, right? Fight full power and full speed, you know, so, you know, it's one thing if you're, let's say, sometimes fighting with a, let's say you're fighting with a, it might even be a steel blade, but if you're fighting with a lighter hitting calibration, where somebody's not hitting you that hard, it's a little easier to take the hits and then return fire. However, when you're in armor and basically people are wailing on you at full speed and your shield's getting bashed in, you have to be able to return fire, right? To throw shots while your shield's getting bashed in. It's a totally different experience. You know, being able to return fire while, you know, you're being aggressively attacked, okay? So again, that's why I do lots of different things. You cannot learn all your skills in just one place. You cannot learn your fighting skills just on the gun range, shooting at targets that don't shoot back. Yeah, you have to do airsoft, you have to do paintballing, you know, you have to do hand-to-hand fighting, you have to do stick fighting. Okay, if you want to be an effective fighter, you gotta basically bring all these skills. You know, you gotta have all these skills, right? You gotta have all these skills. So that's one of the things I want to explain. You know, in the military, talk to military people, they'll all tell you that they've had jams with AR platform guns. Now they've gotten a lot better since the invention of the anti-tilt followers, because most of the problems that we had with ARs was the bad magazines with the followers would tilt, and you would get the nose ups, nose downs. Since then, the gun has gotten way more reliable. Okay, but the point that I'm trying to bring out is at all the gun ranges that I'm at, okay, most of the jams that I usually see, right? If I go to ranges that have both rifles and pistols, I see more jams with the pistols than I see with the rifles. Okay, and that's what military guys telling us that they've seen these jams. So my point is that in a real combat / fighting type of situation, you better believe that these are gonna jam up more. Okay, I mean it's just it's a small gun. It will move more on the recoil. Now let's talk about how most people shoot versus how you're most likely to encounter a self-defense type of situation. Okay, so most of the time at the gun range, right, you're standing, like this, perfect presentation, take your shots, okay? So there's 3 types of self-defense situations that I envision, right? And I'm going to generalize a little bit. One is where you get lots of preparation. Right? That's when somebody's breaking into your house. The other one where you get no preparation at all, where you're ambushed, and the other one is where you get an escalation. Okay, where So looking at these situations, in only 1/3 of them, or let's say 33%, and that's the one where there might be some escalation, where you get a chance to come out of the holster, go to full presentation. Because if you think about it, right, and that's a maybe 33%. It's probably way less than that. It's probably not going to work out that way in reality. So let's go through the 3 scenarios. One is somebody's breaking into your house. Okay, so somebody's breaking into your house, and you're going to take a position behind a piece of cover. Most likely, take you want to make yourself smaller, so you're going to go to a kneeling position. Put my ears on. Right, so somebody's breaking into your house. Let's say you're in the bedroom behind your bed, okay, and you're gonna look like this, okay. That's the shot you're gonna take, okay. So here's the thing: when you're in that position, resting the gun on the table, unless you practice this specifically, your grip can be slightly off, okay. So I have seen, people who have never shoot that position kneeling, and I'm kneeling on gravel here in shorts. So you're gonna get some, a little discomfort there, a little bit of a distraction. Unless you practice that position, I have seen, people that use guns that are otherwise 100% reliable. When I put them in that position over there, they don't hold the gun the way they normally hold it, and they get a jam. Okay, so that's gonna be like a 1/3, I think, of your self-defense situations where somebody's breaking into your house. You get some you get some indication of what's about to happen. You put yourself in a position, because there's no point for you to be standing in the middle of the house like this, right? And if you have a chance to get behind a piece of cover. Okay, so that is the more likely scenario. Now let's talk about the other scenario where you're completely ambushed. Okay. You're walking through whatever, a parking lot or an indoor parking lot, whatever, coming out of a store, come around the corner, and you get jumped, okay? No preparation. They're already on top of you, hitting you, all right? So, if you go to your gun, you're most likely going to go to, remember, the gun, this hand and this hand are never on the same line. So you're either going to be like this or you're going to be like that, okay? And again, now we're shooting one-handed in an awkward position. All right, you've got to be able to shoot the gun like that. So let's say somebody's grabbing down here, come over the top over here. You've got to be able to shoot the gun like that and not jam it up. And if you've never done that, okay, you're not going to be able to do it. The other thing is, again, in an ambush type of situation, you're trying to create space. You're trying to move. You come out. So that is a more likely self-defense situation where you are moving and shooting as you're trying to maintain distance, get away. And again, if you don't practice that, chances are, I don't care if you've got a Glock or a Sig or a Beretta, or I don't care what, a Smith & Wesson. I don't care what your favorite gun is. If you don't practice, if you don't get some practice in shooting like that, the chances are that you're going to jam up the gun. And I don't care if it is 100% reliable when you're shooting like this. Shooting the gun one-handed is a different experience. Okay, so like the three scenarios: one, you get a lot of preparation and you get a chance to take cover. Other one, you are completely ambushed. The other one is where there's escalation, and that usually starts off with yelling, screaming, cursing, and then maybe you escalate to fists, and then maybe a weapon is introduced, and now you go to your gun. Okay, and that is probably one of the more difficult ones to deal with because you got to be able to make that judgment call. At what point do you need to go to your gun? You might have somebody that just bitch slaps you, right? You can't go to your gun. You can't shoot somebody for bitch slapping you, okay? You might have somebody that spits in your face. You can't shoot them, okay? You gotta be able to stand up for yourself without going to your gun. So you gotta have other options, okay? Even in the knife situation, right? Yeah, I mean, if I got a guy my size, with guns like these, I'm kidding, coming at me with a knife, yeah, I'm going to my gun. But I mean, if I've got like, I don't know, some crazy grandmother, right, who's forgot to take her meds or something, right? I'm not going to my gun to defend myself against a wacky grandmother, who can barely walk, that's coming at me with a knife. I've got to be able to use my hands, other things to defend myself. Okay, my feet, right? I can probably outrun her. Move, So, so again, that's a scenario where you have, and at some point, you may end up having to go your gun because this grandmother might go to her gun. Might pull out her gun herself. So now all of a sudden, the fact that she's frail, weak, it's one thing if she's holding a knife. It's another thing if she now pulls out, I don't know, a big 44 Magnum or something. Okay, so now you've got to go to your gun. So again, you got to be able to make that, change gears like that. You also got to be aware of like in those situations that are, as they're escalating, right? You've got a chance to, not just look at the threat, but also look past the threat, around it. Okay, there's people standing over there, so maybe I need to start, moving, change my angle, so that I don't have people standing behind my potential threat. If I can shift my body over a little bit, right, just a little bit like this, all of a sudden, all I've got is woods behind me, or a brick wall or something. Okay, so these are all things that you gotta be thinking of, right? So anyway, going back to the original issue, do not trust in any gun to defend your life. Trust in your skills. Practice shooting unconventional positions. Practice, transitioning from hands to guns. Okay, like one of the drills that I will practice is where, like a lot of times when we go to the draw, right, we go here, but also practice coming from up here, right? Because if somebody's attacking you, your hands are going to be up here. Practice, going from here, to the draw like that. Envision these different type of situations. Envision a situation when somebody's closing in on you, and you gotta create some distance. So all these things are going to affect how your gun works, and you're not going to know how it works until you actually do these things and practice moving and shooting. To test your gun and test you, right? Because if the first time in your life that you go to move and shoot is when somebody's coming at you with a baseball bat or a knife, I mean, you're probably not going to do really good with it, right? You're probably going to end up getting killed by a guy that's got a knife, and you've got a gun, and everybody's going to be like, how the hell did this guy with the gun get killed by a guy with the knife? So it's going to be weird like that. Yeah, do not trust your life to any gun. Trust your life to the skills that you develop and you continue to develop. Okay. So my thoughts on the subject. Let me know what you guys think. And if you are one of those guys that trusts their life to their gun, let me know in the comments what gun this is. Okay, I'm curious. I'm curious as hell to know, because every gun that I've seen, that I've seen people shoot with, at one point or another, I mean, I've gotten them to jam up that gun. Okay, I might have had to push them into some pretty extreme situations. maybe hanging one-handed with a rope, trying to move, all sorts of weird shit I make people do. But at some point, I've pretty much been able to get everybody to jam up their gun and force them to unjam it and work through that problem. Okay, so talk to you guys all soon. Make sure you follow me on the uncensored platforms. On Rumble, I'm Pocono Guns. On Odyssey, Gun Streamer, HugeTube, I am Pocono Tactical. Also on YouTube, my backup channels are, my 3 channels are Absolute Guns, Pocono Shooting, and the Tsafa channel, which is my main channel. The first channel, that channel goes back to, I think, like 2006. That originally was, the Tsafa channel was originally set up more as a sword fighting channel than a gun channel. And then, so that's why a lot of times you guys will see some of my sword fighting videos, because originally this was a sword fighting channel. The Tsafa was a sword fighting channel, and I at some point, I started adding guns to that. So talk to y'all soon.